Hey everyone, thanks for coming back for another episode of My Favorite Product. We're here with Katie Moss today. Hey Katie, how are you?
Hello, John. I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, thanks. Katie and I worked together somewhat recently at Sugar CRM, and excited to see you again, Katie. And we talked product a lot when we worked together, so it'd be fun to do that again. You
Yes,
want to tell everyone your the product you chose?
sure. So I chose Gong for my product.
Awesome, awesome. And I should note too. Actually, I'll let you do it. Would you mind giving a brief intro about yourself, what you do, and your journey?
Sure. So currently, like you said, John, I'm at Sugar CRM. I'm Senior Product Marketing Director there. I oversee our Sell product, which is Salesforce automation. I have been in product marketing for about 8 years. And then for 7 years before that, I was in content marketing. So I made a little switch there, and it's been really great.
Very cool. Yeah, and typically we've had product managers, I guess, formally on the show. But if you know me and you follow some of the stuff I've written about, I think the world of product marketing and product management are coming together, and there's a lot of overlap there. So I'm thinking you might be the first product marketer by title that we've had on the show. So there's
Oh,
something. Couldn't think of a better one to have than yourself. Great. So tell us what you like about Gong and why you chose it.
yeah, so I used Gong at my last company, actually. And obviously, I used it from a product marketing perspective.
Hmm.
It's a revenue intelligence software, is what they brand themselves as. Um, so I was involved in like first testing the product when we decided to purchase it, and then eventually a user. And I used it a lot for competitive analysis.
Oh,
I also used it for obviously listening to sales calls and understanding what they were talking about, checking to see if they were using my messaging. Um, and also just more general market research and the things that they were talking about. And I was able to kind of set up alerts and get notified via email every week on what our salespeople were talking to our prospects about.
oh, so it actually notified you. Didn't have to go log in and read through that's what I've been doing. We use Gong at my
Oh,
company, and I
really?
go through the transcripts. Yeah, and
You
I
can
love
set
it.
those reminders or notifications, I guess.
Ah, that'd be great. Good to
Uh,
know. I'm learning a lot. So I have to ask you. You teased it a little bit. What was the batting average on them using your messaging versus going off the path?
yeah, I think as is usual for product marketing folks, there were some salespeople who definitely took up the messaging more than others. So it was great to understand who those people were and also how they were tweaking the
Yeah.
messaging because it was always, a little bit different, and that helped me, further refine the messaging that we had. But we also got to do some training for the people that weren't actually using the messaging or using super outdated slides or some of these other, issues that we find from a product marketing standpoint.
You were using the videos that you had with people doing it correctly as training? Is that
Yeah, we used
ah,
it. We used it as training. We also got them on like live trainings to talk about
yeah.
how they were, and we just kind of like, passed around recordings when people did something really well. We were based in the US, so we were able to kind of have a little less oversight on privacy and things like that. Um,
I
but
see.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's just to go back to it. I think it's really interesting to have you on the show being an expert in the product marketing field and thinking about things like messaging, which product managers should be aware of, but maybe not always testing and really as involved as you are. So it's an interesting use case because I wouldn't have thought of that with Gong for what I'm typically listening for. So that's great. Any other use cases that you found Gong to be helpful with, or were those the the main drivers?
Those were the main ones, but I think definitely competitive was eye-opening. Um, because sometimes sales can say that a particular competitor is the one they come up against most. But then I was finding that, we actually had some other competitors that were there. And so I was
Hmm.
able to check that and say, okay, who actually is being mentioned by prospects in conversations? So that was super helpful. And then the only other thing I would say is we were pushing like specific features at the time. We had just launched a new product. And so we were able to kind of track that as well because we wanted sales to be sort of blasting those new features out to the market. We were able to check who was doing that.
Got it. So another kind of audit for the sales team, make sure that they're checking those boxes. Were you also listening to the customer or the prospect's reaction to that messaging, that pitch?
Sure. Yeah, it was always super interesting to see what was resonating and what wasn't, and the kind of questions that prospects and even customers would ask
Hmm.
us. Um, they wouldn't always be the questions I would expect or questions that I hadn't maybe thought about. So that was super helpful.
Yeah, really cool. What about the experience of using Gong? So you're in the CRM business at Sugar today. Um, I've got my own take on this, but I want to hear yours first. How do you think Gong kind of fits in with that whole CRM experience?
Yeah. So unfortunately we are not integrated with Gong, so I can't speak from the sugar side of things.
Yeah.
I know they are with, many of our competitors. But I do think it makes a lot of sense to have sort of that conversational revenue intelligence connected with the CRM data.
Hmm.
And Gong appears to be, continuing to expand the kind of information that they're tracking and that's coming in. Love to see them get like some more marketing channels information as well. Um, but yeah, I think it's great to actually track what's happening and have that connected with CRM so you can see, each email that came in, you can see each phone call, but not only that, you can get that AI based conversational insights and actually um, track that information a little bit better and get and grab things out of it, so you're not just seeing like, okay, we had a call, this is what we talked about. It's actually making those next step suggestions, so it's kind of almost like a guided selling type experience. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and I was excited that you picked Gong because we got a lot of guests on the show where I've just never really used the product. I mean, we had Tesla last time, and I'm not a Tesla driver. Unfortunately, it looks really cool. But with Gong, I am 6 months into my journey and absolutely love the product. I mean, it is quickly climbing the ranks of my favorite product as well. Um, and I think there's a lot of interesting things it can do for me. And I'm probably doing it right now. I'm like, I don't want to talk that much on these calls, right? You're the guest. You should do most of the talking. If I'm on a prospect or a customer call, same idea. I want them to be telling us what they want, their experience. So I love, love, love going into, and this is the simplest thing in the world, but I go into my own calls right after they happen, and I just look at the stat of what percentage of the time that I speak. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like my own audit for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it can definitely do a lot of things that I haven't used it for, because I had a very specific use case as a product marketer. But I know
Right.
you can do things like forecasting and sales coaching, and sales managers can kind of see what's going on with their teams and where they're most successful. So it's definitely a really robust solution.
Yeah. And pretty neat that, on the surface, or at least maybe when they started, it was we're going to record calls and play back transcripts. And now they've branched out into all these different benefits, I guess, through their tool. Neat.
That's one of the things I love about them. And I think they've done a really awesome job with their marketing and, kind of category differentiation, because they were conversational intelligence. Like you said, they were recording the calls. There are, several other products that also do that. You can think about things like Chime or Amazon Connect or others. But
Yeah.
when they started marketing themselves as a revenue intelligence solution, that's a different kind of play because it's really talking to how it can benefit your organization and kind of plug into those high level company goals and KPIs across different departments. It becomes less about this is just a sales tool. So I think that was a really smart move.
Yeah. Brought in the marketers and customer success, right? And everyone else on the customer side. That's a really great point. I hadn't thought of that. All right, so now we'll shift over to the other side, which is perhaps the toughest question I ask. It's your favorite product and all. Is there any way you could make Gong better? Anything you're left waiting for?
Yeah. So I mentioned it a little bit. I think they can continue to integrate with some other solutions, other
Mm,
CRMs.
yep,
Um,
channels and
but yeah, other channels as well. I think that marketing data would be really interesting to see. And a lot of different CRMs and other systems, struggle with getting all these channels in one place. I think the more you can get, the better. The more information you can get on the customer to have that omni-channel experience, you know, is going to be the best outcome because you're going to have better conversations, you're going to have a better understanding of what they're looking for. Um, and so, yeah, I think just continuing to expand the channels and the information that they're gathering.
yeah, that's really neat. It's fun that there's more opportunity, right, outside of just calls as well. Uh, cool. And then in terms of how you think about products, how you go to market, uh, strategy, what has Gong taught you, or how has Gong made you better at your job?
um, I kind of alluded to this earlier, but it's really kind of made me or kept me in check, I would say. As product marketers, we always think our messaging is awesome and it's our new features are really cool. But it's really important that we're listening to our customers. And not only, just a handful of customers who are the loudest, but all of our customers. And I think a tool like Gong helps you do that on a wider scale, not just listening to the calls, but all of the insights that you get from all of the information that's gathered. So, yeah, I think
So,
it's
yeah, keeps you in check, but it sounds like you have the willingness to be open-minded about messaging and feedback, and Gong, I guess, supports that. Am I hearing that right?
yeah, for sure. And it's not always something that I used only to check how messaging was performing either. It's something that I use to create content to help sales. So sales enablement content. What are some of the rebuttals uh,
Ah,
that we need to, put together for sales? So some of it was, net new learnings, not only just checking what was already done.
oh, that's really interesting too. So for sales enablement, here are some of the questions you might get back, and that's all
Yep.
based on, or some of it, I guess, could be based on what you're hearing from these Gong calls, from
Absolutely.
actual real life examples. Very cool. Well, Katie, thanks so much for being here today. It was great to talk about a product that we both really appreciate. And yeah, anything you wanted to plug, or maybe you wanted to, if people wanted to find you, where they might be able to find you.
I'm on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me there.
Cool.
Um, yeah, that's about it. No, nothing to plug in particular.
Nothing to plug. You're just doing this out of the kindness of your heart, being on the show today. I appreciate that as well. And honestly, the reason I reached out is I knew how good you were at this stuff, and was interested in what your favorite product would be, and I knew it would help the larger product community here. So thanks for sharing your wisdom and expertise. It was great having you today.
Yeah, thank you so much, John.